She said, "I never loved you. This was all for the apartment. Sucker. You will never get it back anyway." I said, "We will see." 6 months later, she was living with her parents and working retail, while I got my place back plus damages. I am Mitchell Davis, 32, work as a senior accountant at Henderson and Associates downtown. 5 years ago, I bought this apartment for $350K after saving for 3 years straight. Basically lived on ramen and never went out. It is worth about $420K now according to recent comps. 2 bedrooms, 15th floor, downtown location with city views. My absolute pride and joy. Every morning I'd wake up and still couldn't believe I actually owned something this nice. Met Vanessa Thompson at a networking event 2 years back. She is 29, works as a real estate agent for Prestige Properties, one of the bigger firms in the city. The moment I mentioned I owned downtown property, her eyes lit up, started immediately talking about property values, market trends, investment strategies. Smart woman, confident, knew exactly what she wanted from every conversation. And she moved in 6 months ago when we got engaged. Wedding was planned for this coming spring. Venue booked, deposits paid, the whole thing. About a month ago, Vanessa brought up something that should have been a massive red flag. She wanted me to transfer the apartment into her name only. Babe, with my real estate background and connections, I can restructure the ownership to save us thousands in taxes annually. Plus, it protects both of us if anything happens with your job, or if you get sued. She had everything prepared, documents printed out, tax benefit explanations, case studies from her previous clients who had done similar transfers. She would clearly spent hours researching this. Made perfect sense at the time. We were getting married anyway in 4 months, right? What is mine is yours and all that romantic garbage. I trusted her completely. Why wouldn't I? She was my fiancée. She worked in real estate. She knew things I didn't. Last Tuesday, I signed the transfer papers at her office downtown. Vanessa handled everything through her professional connections. Said the processing would take about a week to go through the system. I remember joking with her that I was probably the only guy in history who gave his fiancée a $420K engagement gift before the actual wedding. She laughed and said, "You are so generous, babe. This is going to save us so much money in the long run." This past Monday, exactly 1 week after the transfer was finalized, I came home from work around 6 p.m. after staying late to finish the Morrison account reconciliation. Found all my belongings stuffed into black garbage bags and stacked outside the apartment door like trash pickup day. At first, I thought maybe there was a break-in or some kind of building emergency. Or maybe the management company had screwed something up. Then Vanessa opened the door. She wasn't panicked or upset or confused like I expected. She was smiling. This cold, satisfied smile I had never seen on her face before, like she had just won something. "You need to leave, Mitchell. This is my home now. There is no place for you here anymore." I stood there like an idiot trying to process what she was saying. My brain just couldn't compute the words coming out of her mouth. "What are you talking about? This is our apartment. We live here together." She actually laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not an uncomfortable laugh, a genuine amused laugh like I had just told her the funniest joke she had ever heard. "Check the property deed, sweetie. It is in my name only now. Thanks for the free apartment, sucker. You will never get it back anyway." I said, "We will see." We were never actually getting married, Mitchell. I just needed you to believe we were long enough to get you to sign the paperwork, the venue deposits. I already got most of that money back. The dress? Returned it last week. The door slammed shut. I heard the deadbolt click, then the chain slide into place. My own apartment's security system being used to keep me out. I stood in that hallway for probably 20 minutes. Just staring at the door, waiting for her to open it back up and tell me this was some kind of twisted joke, maybe candid camera or something, but it never happened. Other tenants walked by and gave me weird looks. Guy in a business suit standing next to garbage bags in an apartment hallway. I grabbed as many bags as I could fit in my Honda and drove straight to my buddy Steve Anderson's place across town. Steve and I went to college together. He has been my closest friend for over a decade. He took one look at my face and just said what happened. Man, when I told him the story, Steve went absolutely ballistic. Started pacing around his living room saying he was going to drive over there and kick the door down. His girlfriend Rebecca came out to see what the shouting was about. And when she heard the situation, she just stared at me with her mouth open. "Someone cannot just steal your apartment like that," Rebecca said. "That is not legal. That is fraud or theft or something." Steve let me crash on his couch, but I could tell Rebecca wasn't thrilled about the sudden houseguest situation. Cannot blame her. Their place is small and they weren't expecting a third person indefinitely. Spent that entire night staring at the ceiling trying to figure out if this was actually real life. Vanessa had played a perfect 2-year con game just to steal my apartment. The engagement, the wedding planning, moving in together, meeting my parents, all those romantic dinners and weekend trips, all of it completely fake. Every "I love you," every discussion about our future, every time she talked about growing old together, all lies designed to get me to sign over my property. I called in sick to work Tuesday morning. First time I had used a sick day in 2 years, and started making phone calls. Steve helped me research real estate lawyers online. Found a woman named Patricia Wells, who specializes in property fraud cases. Her consultation fee was $400, which I could barely afford after the shock of suddenly being homeless. But Steve said it was worth every penny. Patricia reviewed all my paperwork Tuesday afternoon, and her expression got serious immediately. Using false pretenses and fraudulent documentation to obtain property transfer is a felony in this state. We are filing criminal charges and a civil lawsuit immediately. She explained that what Vanessa did violates about 6 different state laws. The fraudulent property transfer, the premeditated deception spanning months. Patricia said we had solid grounds to get the apartment back and make Vanessa pay damages for legal fees, emotional distress, and lost housing costs. If this was premeditated, and it clearly was, there will be evidence. The pie cost another $800 that I didn't have. Steve had to loan me the money, which made me feel even worse about the whole situation. But Marcus Rodriguez has 15 years of experience with fraud and infidelity cases. He started surveillance on Vanessa immediately. What Marcus found out in just 24 hours made me physically sick to my stomach. Wednesday night, the exact same day she had kicked me out of my own home, Marcus dug up evidence that a guy in an expensive Mercedes had picked Vanessa up directly from my apartment building. His investigation showed they went to Morton's Steakhouse, the kind of place that charges $80 for dinner, then back to his place in Riverside Heights, the rich district where houses start at $800,000. Marcus' investigation dug deeper than I ever expected. He managed to get hold of photos, security footage, maybe even shots from a private investigator showing them kissing outside the restaurant, holding hands as they walked to his car. Everything pointed to one thing. This wasn't a business meeting or a friendly dinner. It was a date, plain and simple. Background check revealed the guy is Ryan Miller, 35. Works as a commercial real estate developer for Miller and Associates. Apparently his family's company. Makes serious money. Drives a $90K car. Lives in a $1-2 million house. His social media shows he has been dating Vanessa for at least 8 months. Maybe longer. 8 months. That is 2 full months before she even moved in with me. Marcus managed to recover deleted text messages from a shared cloud account that Vanessa had forgotten to secure properly. I cannot quote them exactly because of the ongoing legal case, but the basic content was Ryan pressuring Vanessa to get her own place because he was tired of sneaking around and meeting in hotels. Vanessa kept promising him she had a plan to get a really nice downtown apartment very soon without having to pay for it herself. My apartment wasn't just stolen from me. It was stolen specifically as a gift for her wealthy boyfriend. The engagement ring, the wedding planning, the whole relationship. It was all an elaborate con game designed to get Ryan Miller what he wanted. A convenient downtown place to meet Vanessa, without having to worry about his own reputation or privacy. But then Marcus discovered something that changed everything I thought I knew about this entire situation. Update 1. Sorry for the delay updating you guys. Work has been absolute hell trying to catch up after taking time off for legal meetings. Plus, I have been staying up until 3 a.m. every night going through documents with Patricia and trying to find a new place to live. Steve's girlfriend Rebecca finally had to tell me I needed to find somewhere else to crash since their lease doesn't allow long-term guests, and their landlord was asking questions. The court hearing was yesterday, and what happened was completely insane. Going into it, Patricia and I thought we had a solid case with all the fraud evidence and Marcus's surveillance photos. Vanessa showed up with this expensive-looking lawyer who immediately started arguing that I had willingly gifted the property to her and was just experiencing buyer's remorse about the relationship ending. Her lawyer kept saying things like Mr. Davis voluntarily transferred the property with full knowledge of the legal implications, and there is no evidence of coercion or fraud. Just a romantic relationship that ended badly. Made me sound like some bitter ex-boyfriend trying to use the courts to get revenge. But then something happened that nobody in that courtroom expected, including me. Ryan Miller walked through the doors. At first I figured he was there to support Vanessa, maybe provide character testimony or something. Instead, he walked right past her, didn't even make eye contact, and asked to speak directly to the judge. "Your Honor, I need to make it absolutely clear that I never asked Miss Thompson to acquire property through deception. When I learned earlier this week how she obtained this apartment, I immediately ended our relationship. I want no involvement whatsoever in any kind of fraud." You should have seen Vanessa's face. Went white as paper. She started whispering frantically to her lawyer, pulling on his sleeve like a desperate child. Her lawyer looked just as shocked as everyone else. Ryan kept talking and basically destroyed her entire defense strategy. Miss Thompson told me she was saving money to buy her own place downtown. I offered to help her with a down payment as a loan, but she insisted she could handle the financing herself. I had absolutely no knowledge that she was engaged to another man or that she was planning to steal his property. The judge asked Ryan directly if he wanted any claim to the apartment or if he had received any benefit from the transfer. "Absolutely not, Your Honor. I wouldn't live in a home that was stolen from someone else. I was misled about how she obtained the property." Patricia was taking notes like crazy, grinning like she had just won the lottery. Vanessa's lawyer tried to argue that Ryan was lying to protect himself from potential criminal charges. But Ryan had brought his own documentation, text messages where Vanessa was asking to borrow money for a place, never once mentioning that she was planning to steal mine. Then the judge reviewed all our evidence methodically, the fake tax documents Vanessa had created, the timeline showing her relationship with Ryan overlapping with our entire engagement period, Marcus's surveillance photos, the recovered text messages, everything laid out chronologically. This is one of the clearest cases of premeditated property fraud I have encountered in 15 years on this bench. Miss Thompson used deliberate deception, false documentation, and emotional manipulation to convince Mr. Davis to transfer valuable real estate. The transfer is hereby declared null and void due to fraudulent procurement. The apartment goes back to my name immediately. Vanessa has exactly 72 hours to remove any personal belongings and surrender all keys, including any copies she may have made. She is also ordered to pay all my legal fees, court costs, and damages for temporary housing expenses. But honestly, the best part was watching Vanessa completely fall apart when the reality of the situation hit her. She lost the apartment, she lost Ryan, and she still faces criminal charges that could result in jail time. Her expensive lawyer looked absolutely disgusted, and I heard him tell her quietly that her real estate license would almost certainly be revoked once the criminal case concludes. I drove straight from the courthouse to my apartment building. Building security let me up since my name was back on all the official documents. Vanessa's stuff was already mostly gone. Apparently she had started moving out as soon as Ryan dumped her. I had a locksmith come within 2 hours to change all the locks and reset all the security codes. Cost me $300 but worth every penny for the peace of mind. Patricia says the criminal case will probably result in probation and restitution since it is technically Vanessa's first offense. But the real punishment is losing her career. Real estate agents cannot work with fraud convictions on their record. Her professional reputation is completely destroyed. The weird part is, I am not even angry anymore. Just relieved that this nightmare is finally over and honestly amazed that the legal system actually worked the way it is supposed to. Ryan turning on her was the nail in the coffin, but Patricia thinks we would have won anyway based on the strength of our evidence. Steve has been absolutely incredible through this whole ordeal. Guy basically saved my life by letting me stay at his place and lending me money for the private investigator when I couldn't afford it. We are closer now than we have been since our college days. Rebecca apologized for having to ask me to leave, said she understood the situation was temporary and emergency. My coworkers at Henderson and Associates have been asking where I have been and why I look so stressed. So I told my manager David the basic situation, without going into all the legal details. He was really understanding about the time off, said his own brother went through something similar with an ex-wife, trying to claim property she had never contributed to. Having supportive people around you makes all the difference during legal battles like this. Vanessa tried calling me from different phone numbers over the past week, but I blocked everything. She even had our mutual friend Jessica reach out saying, Vanessa made a terrible mistake and wanted to work things out between us. I told Jessica the only thing that could work anything out at this point was Vanessa's compliance with the court order. My parents called yesterday after hearing about the court case. They had always liked Vanessa and were shocked to learn what she had done. My mom kept saying, I never would have expected something like this from her. My dad was more direct. I am proud of you for fighting back instead of just accepting it. But honestly, what happened next was bigger than I ever expected it would be. Update 2. It has been 3 weeks since the court hearing and the ripple effects keep spreading in ways I never anticipated. Patricia warned me that high-profile fraud cases sometimes attract attention, but I wasn't prepared for how much this would blow up. The local news picked up the story after someone from the courthouse leaked details to a reporter. Channel 7 ran a segment called Engagement Ring Fraud, When Love is a Lie, featuring my case. They didn't use my name, but anyone who knows the situation would recognize the details. Vanessa's real estate firm, Prestige Properties, immediately suspended her pending the outcome of the criminal case, then fired her outright when the story went public. Marcus told me through his investigative contacts that Vanessa is now working at Target and living with her parents in the suburbs. The legal fees, restitution payments, and loss of her $75,000 annual salary have completely wiped out whatever savings she had. Her professional reputation in the real estate community is thoroughly destroyed. Word travels fast in that industry. About 2 weeks ago, she tried one final desperate attempt to contact me. Instead of calling directly, she showed up at my office building downtown. Security called me from the lobby saying there was a woman asking to see me who claimed to be my fiancée. When I looked at the security monitor, there was Vanessa in the lobby looking like she hadn't slept in days. I went down to talk to her, mostly because I was curious what she could possibly have to say at this point. She looked terrible, stressed, tired, like she had been crying for weeks. Nothing like the confident, polished woman I had fallen in love with. Mitchell, please, just 5 minutes. I need to explain what happened. I need you to understand that I never meant for it to go this far. I said you had 2 years to explain. You chose to steal my apartment instead. She started crying right there in the lobby. I was in over my head with Ryan. He kept pushing me to get my own place, and I panicked. I thought we would get married, and it wouldn't matter whose name was on the deed. I never planned to actually take it from you. But you did take it, and you kicked me out with garbage bags. I know. I was scared, and I made terrible decisions. Ryan was threatening to break up with me if I didn't get my own place, and I thought this was the only way to keep him. I was stupid and desperate. I looked at her standing there, completely broken down, begging for forgiveness. 6 months ago, I would have done anything to make this woman happy. Now I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no sympathy, just empty. Vanessa, you didn't make a mistake. You ran a 2-year con game. You faked loving me to steal my home. That is not desperation. That is calculated fraud. She tried to grab my arm, but I stepped back. Please, Mitchell, I lost everything. My job, my career, Ryan, my reputation. I have nothing left. You lost what you stole. That is how consequences work. That was the last conversation we had. Security escorted her out, and I went back upstairs to finish the Peterson audit. The apartment feels completely mine again. I spent about $6,000 renovating the kitchen and master bathroom, partly to erase any trace of her presence, partly because the property value needed updating anyway. Got new appliances, new fixtures, fresh paint throughout. That appraisal came back at $445,000, so the improvements more than paid for themselves. Her name is Sofia Garcia. She is a 3rd-grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary. I met her at Steve's birthday party back in August. She is smart, funny, has her own career, and her own life. Most importantly, she has never once asked about my finances or property ownership. I told Sophia the whole Vanessa story on our third date because she deserved to know what kind of baggage she was potentially getting involved with. Her response was perfect. "That sounds absolutely horrible, but it sounds like you handled it exactly the right way. I am proud of you for fighting back." Sophia has been to the apartment several times now, and her reaction is always the same. Simple, normal relationship stuff that feels revolutionary after 2 years of manipulation and lies. The experience taught me that generosity and trust are good qualities, but they need to be balanced with basic self-protection. I will never again transfer property or make major financial decisions without independent legal advice, regardless of how much I love someone or how long we have been together. Patricia Wells has become something of a friend through this whole process. She is handling some property updates for my will and estate planning now. She tells me that cases like mine are becoming more common as housing prices increase and people get desperate. Her standard advice to clients: if someone needs you to transfer property for any reason other than actual legal marriage, run. Ryan Miller and I don't have any kind of relationship, but I did see him at a downtown restaurant about 3 weeks ago. He was with a different woman. Looked like they were on a date. He saw me across the restaurant and came over to our table. "Mitchell, right? I am glad the court thing worked out for you. He seemed like a decent guy who got manipulated just like I did, just in a different way." Sophia asked about it afterward and I explained the whole situation. She said it was nice that he had apologized again, showed good character. The strangest part of this entire experience is that sometimes I feel grateful it happened. Not grateful for the trauma and stress and financial cost, but grateful that I found out who Vanessa really was before we actually got married. If she had waited until after the wedding to pull this stunt, the legal situation would have been much more complicated and expensive. Sophia and I are taking things slow, but there is something solid and honest about our relationship that never existed with Vanessa. She is excited about her own teaching career and her students, not trying to figure out how to benefit from my financial situation. When she smiles at me, it doesn't feel like she is calculating something behind her eyes. My apartment is mine, my life is mine, and I can trust my own judgment again. That is honestly the best possible outcome I could have hoped for from this nightmare. But there is still one more thing I need to tell you about what happened after the criminal case concluded. Final update. It has been 6 months since the original court case, and 8 months since Vanessa stole my apartment. I figured I owed you guys one final update since this story generated way more attention than I ever expected. Vanessa's criminal case wrapped up 4 months ago. She pled guilty to theft by deception and got 2 years probation plus full restitution. About $12,000 she has to pay back over 3 years. The state licensing board permanently revoked her real estate license. She can never work in the field again anywhere in the state. Marcus told me she has been working at Target for 5 months now, living with her parents in some suburban duplex. Went from making $75,000 as a real estate agent to maybe $20,000 in retail if she is lucky. She tried applying to other firms in surrounding counties, but they all rejected her after running background checks. 3 months ago, I got this handwritten letter from her. 4 pages, single-spaced, front and back. Basically a long apology about how sorry she was, how she had ruined her life over one stupid decision. She wanted to meet for coffee to find closure, and included her phone number. I showed it to Sophia, who just shook her head. She is still trying to manipulate you. This isn't about closure for you. It is about making herself feel better. Sophia was right. Real remorse doesn't come with requests for meetings. I threw the letter away and never responded. The apartment renovations turned out amazing. New granite countertops, updated fixtures, fresh paint in warmer colors. Latest appraisal came back at $465,000, so I gained about $115,000 in equity between market appreciation and improvements. Sophia and I just signed a lease together on a bigger place closer to her school. She insisted on splitting everything 50/50ths from the start. "I never want you to wonder if I am with you for financial reasons," she told me. "I want us to build something together, not me benefit from what you already have. That is the difference between a real partner and a con artist. Real partners want to contribute and build together. Work's been going great. Got promoted to senior accountant with a $15,000 raise. Steve got married to Rebecca last month and asked me to officiate. Patricia has become a genuine friend. We have lunch monthly, and she even wrote an article about my case for a legal journal. I sold the apartment last month for $470K. After closing costs, I cleared about $440K used part for the down payment on our new place. Rest is going into investments and an emergency fund. Looking back, I am grateful Vanessa's greed actually protected me. If she had waited until after marriage to steal my property, the legal battle would have been infinitely more complicated. Her impatience gave Patricia the evidence we needed to get it back. Steve helped me move out of the downtown apartment on a Saturday morning. As we were loading the last boxes into the truck, he asked if I was sad to leave the place where so much had happened. Honestly, that apartment represents the old me who was naive enough to trust someone completely without protecting myself. The new place represents starting fresh, with someone who actually wants to build a life together, instead of just taking what I have already built. Sophia was waiting at our new apartment with coffee and sandwiches for the moving crew. She had already started unpacking kitchen stuff and had classical music playing softly in the background. Normal, domestic, real-life stuff. That evening, after Steve and the other guys had left, and all the boxes were inside, Sophia and I sat on the floor of our empty living room eating pizza and planning where furniture would go. "Are you happy?" she asked me. "I really am. And for the first time in over a year, I meant it completely."